Good afternoon to one and all present. On behalf of Siliguri Institute of Technology, I, Ms. Papia Bhomik, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, would like to welcome you all to the webinar on Relevance of Reading Books in the Digital Era, which has been organized by the NDLI Club of Siliguri Institute of Technology in association with the Central Library and Department of Business Administration SIT. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Pinakie who is our esteemed guest speaker for today and will be giving his valuable inputs on the above topic. Mr. Pinakie Kongshobonik is a corporate marketing professional and an author who enjoys writing about people, culture, ethos, and philosophy. His stories are about his interpretation of what the characters around him are going through. He made his writing debut with the critically acclaimed book Mountains to Manhattan, a fiction about the refugee crisis of Tibetans in the diaspora. He continued his journey with the second book, A Basket of Sunflowers, which navigated through the lives and stories of seven women. Without taking much of our time, I would like to invite Mr. Pinaki Kongshobonik to share his valuable thoughts uh, and give and give his inputs on the topic.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. Good afternoon to everyone. The topic that today we are supposed to speak is about the relevance of reading books in the digital age. I do not know among the audience how many of you read books nowadays. Now, today in this digital world, what we commonly see, most of the time see that people are engrossed into their electronic device and not much inclined in reading books. Now, if you try understand the situation where we are being, in the last 40 years, the digitally the world has changed. Say even when we were growing up, we had no other means of entertainment other than going and playing outdoors. So if you are supposed to stay indoors, so the only option that we had was to indulge ourselves in book. So for us, reading was very common. Like everyone next door used to read, and if you're not an outdoor, so we are reading. And there was a culture of reading that used to go around in the society. But in today's world, what we understand, it is not so easy because we have a lot of distraction and nothing. When we have so much of electronic devices, the digital world is distracts us a lot. This present generation is not at fault also, because when you have something in your hand which is much more colorful, animated, that has sound, you have dialogue, so it's much more attractive to us to watch those. So instead of reading book, naturally we move into watching all those digital media, whatever is there. But the question is, should we be reading books in this digital world? Before I move on to that, let me explain you something. See, what happened is when we are into the electronic media or into the digital world, whatever we see or whatever we watch is being directed by a director. Whatever. Say, let's take very an easy example of a movie. So when you are watching a movie, it has been directed by a director. So you see exactly what that director wants you to see. It is the director's thought process which has been cinematized, and that is how we see. So that is a place where we do not have our brain or our thought process coming in and thinking something innovative, creative, or unique about it. So we are directed by the director, and that is how we see. So that is true for every digital media, every form of it, where our brain does not work or does not do a creative work to think of its own. So as I was saying, in the last 40 years or so, the world has transformed into something which could have never imagined. None of us has imagined before the computers were introduced. After computers came in, the things have been changing so drastically, so fast, that it was beyond our imagination that things will happen. So the most important thing that has happened to our life is a flow of information. Information has started coming in very easily. It's earlier we used to have encyclopedias, sets of encyclopedias in library. Individual houses couldn't afford them. So if you wanted any information, we had to go to a library, and then we had to search through these piles of books, say 26, 27 edition, sorry, uh, divisions of books, so volumes of books, sorry. But now things are so easy. You have Google and you have everything. So the information flow has been much faster, and it is not only faster, there is overflow of information. We are getting more information than it is required to. Now what happens is, now with this loaded of information, so there is also a tremendous pressure on us. Television, internet, cell phone, WhatsApp, mail, whatever you think, so everything is snatching away the valuable time that we had. You see, every people you see, everyone you see around you, other than that, when they're not working, their hands are always on the phone, their eyes are always on the screen, and they are always watching something. So all this time that we are watching something, so we are not thinking, we are just taking on the information that has been passed on to us, in whatever those informations may be. And we also do not know whether those informations are all reliable or not, or all those information are retainable knowledge or not. Now what happens is, now if we have to keep pace with this time, we have to keep pace with the time that we are living in, and maybe in future we have more information coming in. So to keep pace with this, we have to be creative in our own way. If we are not creative, then this destructive thinking or the destructive information that are coming in, that will be replacing our thought process. So in this scenario, imagination should be at the forefront of our meaningful activity. So if you stop imagining, then we cannot do anything, because the first thing is that what we do is we imagine, then we get a plan, we get an idea, then we get a plan, and then only we execute. So that is the process of the entire life that we will be have, with the entire professional life that we will be leading to. So it is very, very important for the content that we absorb. What are we watching? What are we watching? And are those content helping me in any way? Are those content provoking me to think? Am I sitting back after watching something and thinking about it, which we normally don't do? There may be some content which really provokes us, which makes us think. But as I said, as we are always glued to the media, so we do not get that time to think. We do not think, and there is another media or another information which overlaps the previous one, and we get into that. So we stop thinking about it. So when we stop thinking of anything, mm, uh, so the capacity of our brain to think and process also gradually dies. So we just grab the information that we get. We do not gain the knowledge that we should gain. So in this scenario, it is very, very important that we should read books, because books are vehicles of knowledge, wisdom, and creating creative minds. I give you a very small example. See, as I said, when we watch a movie, it is the director's view that we see. Okay, so we go through it, and what he wanted to show us, we keep on seeing that, and we do not have our own thought process or our own mind to think about it. But what happens when you read a book? When you read a book, the descriptions are all the scenes that you have, that has been written by the author. Now, he might have thought something and wrote it, but when you read, you does not read exactly the same thing that the author has written. When we read, what happens is we start imagining ourselves. We get in a think ourselves as the protagonist, or we get into the shoes of the protagonist, and we create a world around us. As the story flows, we also move with the protagonist. Now, each and every one of us uh, are born and brought up in a different socio-economical, cultural circumstances or a society. So a same book read by 10 different people will have 10 different meanings, 10 different understanding, 10 different views, 10 different visualization of the same book. But it doesn't happen when it is a visual media, it's a film or something else. So it is very, very important for you all to read, or for all of us, in fact, in this digital age, to read, because that gives us, the imagination, the power of imagination. And it also, when we're reading, we have enough time, so we also have that time to critically think about those, uh, what we are reading. You can retrospect what we are reading, and we can have a different point of view as well. So in a chaotic, information overloaded environment, reading book while tucked up in your bed or sitting under a tree or in a library also give you a sense of meditation, which is very, very much required in this uh, fast moving life that we see, that we are living in. Uh, those, if you're still in colleges, it's still better, but once you move out into a professional life, once to move out into a larger city, a bigger city, so you will hardly have time for yourself to think. You will have hardly have time to meditate. So this gives you an opportunity to get into something, concentrate and meditate. So that is one of the biggest reasons that you should read. You should read. Next is for knowledge, because as I said, all that we get from the electronic media, most of those are information but not knowledge. Knowledge is something that you get only from a book. So the more you read, the more knowledge you acquire. Okay, otherwise it is just information. So information doesn't make you a very knowledgeable person. Information doesn't make you an intellectual person. So, and reading also gives you a divine intellectual pleasure. So if you are not reading, then start reading. Have you ever thought another thing, that why most of the cases a book is more impactful than a movie? I told you. Now again, think another way. Say there are a lot of books, a lot of movies, those who are converted into movies. But when you read the book and when you watch the movie, then again you will find that there is a big difference between the movie and the book that you read. Now, why is it so? The reason is, the book we read is, as you read, you interpret it in your own way, or in your own way. But when the movie you watch, that is been, again, as I said, is been uh, written or made by the director, or at times also dictated by the producer, what they want to show. So, say for a small example, say there's a description of a small dark street and a dark tree in a book. When you read, what do you see? When you read, you will see something that you saw around you, or that you have imagined, or that, or a vision that you have made over years reading some other books. But it is completely different when you see a visual media. So that is why I feel that it is very, very important for every one of you to read book, those who are not reading it, and develop a culture. It doesn't come in a day. Start reading maybe small literatures, short literatures. Read a page or two in a day, and then gradually, once you feel the taste and once you like it, once you fall in love, you will keep on reading. It is not necessary also that you read only novels or storybooks. Read anything other than your textbook. Textbook is something that we are bound to read, but anything other than textbook, it as per your choice, you should read. That will be developed. Once you start reading, someone may get attracted to storybooks, novels, poetries, articles, newspapers, whatever. But reading is very important. Reading is gives you to time to introspect about yourself, about the society that we are building, about the people and the situations that is happening around us. So it is very, very important for me to suggest that yes, you should read, and this digital age will help you. Otherwise, what will happen is we'll be loaded with a lot of information, that are overloaded with information, and we will have no knowledge about it, and you will see that when there is a good debate going on, so you will have nothing to say because you only have information. You have never thought about the information, and you cannot go and talk about it. Okay, so I think this is more or less my perspective of the relevance of reading book in the digital age. Now, I would like to know if you have any queries, questions, anything. Then I would love to answer them.
So, if anyone has question, you can post it in the chat box.
Angela asks, are any book recommendation other than academics? As I said, read anything that you like other than academics. Academics is something that you are supposed to read by compulsion. Other than that, anything, and try reading everything. Then you will know that what you love, and you will continue with reading with that. So it can be newspaper articles. It can be poetries. It can be novels. It can be short stories, novellas, whatever. And when you go into reading this fictions, then also there you will have gradually you will have a choice of the genres that you read. Someone might love thriller, someone might love romance, someone might love something corporate, someone might love self-help books. So whatever it may be, it doesn't matter, but you should start reading. So once you start reading, then only we will develop a taste. And once you develop a taste, I assure you, once you fall in love, you can never leave reading. You will continue to read.
A question लिखे था आपने actually how to motivate the kids.
Yeah, anything else? How many of you read? Can you tell me? That's a problem in online. We cannot see them. We cannot see how many hands they raise. But one thing is good that I find that yes, a lot of people read. Still, a lot of books are sold. Huge numbers of books are sold, and there are a lot of authors have come up. There are many new authors, many new readers. So I find it very encouraging that there are a lot of people those who are reading. The books I write, people read. I know they send me feedback. They talk about it. They discuss about it. So there is something really that I like, that yes, people are reading. It is not that people are not reading, but we should read more. We should read more. We should encourage our next generations to read more. I understand it is very tough for them to encourage, because when they have a mobile phone in their hand for every moment, it's very tough, very tough. If I push my son to read at least Tintin comics, so he prefers going to the TV and watch a Tintin animation. But still, I have to keep pushing that. Yeah, read, because reading makes you to think something, and it's different. Yeah, some more questions, please. I am also a Siliguri guy, so please, Siligurians. I stay in Delhi. Devayan Nandi has asked, what encouraged you to write the books? Okay, then Noel. Okay, Devan. What encouraged me to write a book is all the books I write is to tell a story, because when I come across some stories that I think is very unique, and I find that okay, this story should be told to the world. If I tell the story to the world, maybe this is my perspective. Then maybe the lives of some people would change. Maybe these stories will encourage others to change their life, take the challenges in their life. So that is the reason I started writing books, because I consider myself as a storyteller. So writing books is telling story to reach out to people. The unique stories that I know. Why should I confine those stories within me? Let me write and let me other people know. My first book, Mountains to Manhattan, was so widely acclaimed. Like that was a story of the Tibetan family, three generation of a Tibetan family, and the nuances of the political nuances rather of the Tibetans in India. So a lot of people didn't know about it. So when they read, they said, "Okay, we never knew because we live along the Tibetans here, and we thought that they are all like Indians." Even the Tibetans told me that you know more history than we know about ourselves. So the younger generation. So that was very inspiring. That again encourages me to write more. And the second part of your question, how do you manage time from your corporate assignment? Yeah, it's very, very tough. It's very, very tough. Mostly, we have to take break or write in the night. But when we have, when I have a regular corporate job, and so it's get very tough. So writing a book normally takes for me around 7 months to a year, at times more. Like the second book, my A Basket of Sunflowers, I took around 10 years to write 7 stories. So I wrote, then editing, and they did not change it. The time I started writing and at the time I published it, it was 10 years in between. So it's very tough with a corporate life to write a story, because writing story means engaging yourself completely into it, putting yourself into the shoes of the protagonist. You leave the duration of the time that I write, so I leave the life of the protagonist that I'm living. I have to feel the happiness, sorrow, pain, everything that the protagonists go through. Otherwise, it's very tough to write. So that's a problem. And another big problem while writing is, like, if I take a break for various reasons, then again coming back to write the same book is a challenge. Is a big challenge, because again I have to get into that sense of feeling and emotion, reading all that. So it's a big challenge for corporate peoples to write, because and we do not have a time frame of our job. So we know when you go to office, we do not know when you come back from office. So it's painful. Noel Gurung asks, sir, I have heard that books help to change a person's character. For an example, anger management. Yes, Noel, this definitely changes a character. The more you read, the more you go through the characters, the more the characters attract you. The characters also give an insight to yourself, who you are, how you are, the way you are behaving in this society. Is that all the right way of doing it? So if you find a character, if you find someone who has been similar or completely opposite, and it attracts you, so it helps you changing your character for sure. So that is why it says that read a book. And like when we were kids, when we were in school, it was always said that read books of lives of the famous personalities. And I remember when I was in class 6 or 7, there was a supplementary book which had 20 stories, short stories about the famous personality. So why are all those being taught to the students? The reason is that the more we read them, we take inspiration from those characters, the challenges that they had faced, the challenges they had overcome, mm, uh, the courage that they had. They never bowed down to anything, and they had changed the world that we are living in. So when you go through it, so it definitely changes your character, the more you read. And as I said, the choice of what you are reading depends on you, and gradually you fall in love, and gradually over the age and with your experience and circumstances, even your reading changes also. Today, like I give you example. When I was a young kid, I used to read a lot of detective stories, because that attracts, as a teenager, that attracts. And we had some wonderful writers in Bengali and English. It can be the Sherlock Holmes series or the Feluda series. But at my age, or then when I was moving on, then I didn't find them interesting. So that was for that age. And as gradually as I moved on, my topic of reading, my topic of writing changed. What I write now are all based on social situations and reforms. So it changes with time. So keep reading, and yeah, why anger management? All of our emotional managements can be taken care of.
Any more questions? You can write down in the comment box. Okay, so I believe there are no more questions, I guess,
No
sir.
more questions. Yeah, it's all of attendance coming up.
Yes. So we have come into the end of this webinar. So I would like to thank you, sir. I would like to express my immense gratitude that you have taken your valuable time from your busy schedule and then you have joined us and then shared your views with us. It was really fruitful and very informative. And I believe that everyone who ever have joined, they have, they have really taken the best out of it. So we'll be looking forward for more such sessions with you if you are okay. Like we'll be moving forward for that. And lastly, I would like to thank all the participants who have joined the session. It was a really informative session. All of you, we all knew a lot of about reading the books, the relevance of reading. Sir has explained it how he has also cleared all your questions regarding the anger management and all. On behalf of the entire NDLI club of Siliguri Institute of Technology and the Department of Business Administration, and also on behalf of all the students who have joined this session, I would really like to thank you, sir, for your valuable time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and especially from an institute, from a city where I used to belong. And though I'm now settled in Delhi, but this is the place where I used to belong. So it was really a pleasure. And anytime, if you have any more requirement for me to help out the students, I'll be always there. It was a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.